Good afternoon. Friends, yesterday, after 40,805 days had passed, we gathered in downtown Dallas to memorialize a man by the name of Alan Brooks, who was lynched before a crowd of 5,000 men, women, and children on March the 3rd, 1910. Friends, where we stand now holds the record for the largest Ku Klux Klan induction in American history. Over 5,000 men, along with 800 women, who were inducted into the auxiliary. There is a tremendous article out right now in D Magazine. It's entitled "The Fair Park Lie." Where we stand was once erected over 300 homes, bought and purchased by black people in this city. And those homes were seized because the Fair Park did a study to determine how to deal with the black poor, so that white fairgoers would not be intimidated as they went along the midway. And the suggestion was that we'd make Fair Park an island and surrounded by concrete, out of sight, out of mind, was the solution given. Friends, this is the painful truth of our history. And the politics of Greg Abbott would have us to forget this. Things that should be clear about who we are and who we aspire to be as a people, things that ought to be clear concerning the lessons that we teach our children, do not appear to be clear to those who govern us. It is now illegal in the state of Texas to teach that the persons who wore this hood and wore the robe that went along with it is morally wrong. There are women in need of medical care in our state who must go across state lines to receive that care. There's a little truth concerning the leadership of Greg Abbott that we must acknowledge today, and it's that Greg Abbott is an existential threat to all Texans. Friends, it breaks my heart that because of the politics of this governor, our neighbors froze to death in their beds. A young boy in Conroe, a street vendor over in Deep Ellum, in America's energy capital. And when given the opportunity to fix the power grid, they instead decided to suppress our vote. These are painful times when we have neighbors who are dying because they cannot access medical care, and a governor who will not sign on to Medicaid expansion. And we haven't even mentioned COVID yet. What kind of person are you when you won't even guard and protect our most valued treasure, our children? That more children have died from this pandemic in Texas than in any other state. Governor Greg Abbott would have us to ignore these truths. But somewhere I read that the truth shall set you free. Somewhere I heard that truth crushed to the earth will rise again. Friends, there are those who we love who will literally not survive 4 more years of Greg Abbott. This is a time when it feels more than just an election, that there's far more at stake than just a vote. My prayer is that as we go forth in this election cycle, you'll remember those shivering under blankets, gathering around the fire, hauling pails of water into their homes. I hope you will think about that young woman afraid for her future, having to drive, having to fly, seeking services for herself. I hope you will remember the men, women, and children who bled and died for us to have the right to vote. I hope that you will carry them in your heart and that it will motivate you to register people to vote. I hope that these realities will motivate you to mobilize and vote. I hope you will continue to show up and continue to fight, because we are fighting for none other than the soul of our democracy. How many of you are willing to fight? How many of you are willing to stand? And show up for our democracy. Here's another truth that I know. I know that when some politicians were on their way to Cancun, what I know I saw with my own eyes was that Beto O'Rourke was making sure that water was reaching those who were in need of a drink. What I know during the greatest social movement in American history, while certain politicians were talking down to those who only wanted to declare that Black Lives Matter, Beto O'Rourke didn't have a problem standing with us and declaring that Black Lives Matter. When I remember how that great lie has been used to suppress our vote, I remember Beto O'Rourke signing up people to vote himself and going all across this state to ensure that we can cast our vote. What a consequential time that we are living through. And I only wonder what future generations will ask of us during this consequential time. How did you stand? How did you fight? How did you show up? What did you do? When the state of Texas was in peril, how did you show up in this hour? And I hope we can all stand in a resounding voice and say that together we made Beto O'Rourke the next governor of the state of Texas. Won't you put your hands together for Beto O'Rourke, the next governor from the great state of Texas?
Dallas, Fort Worth, Collin, Denton, Rains, Cook County, Ellis. Thank you all for being here. Let us make some noise so that they can hear us in Kansas City, so that they get ready for Dallas to win today. Let's hear it for Reverend Waters. There is none better, not that I've heard. And thank you all for being here. La música. All right. Hey, it is so great to be back with you again. To be bringing the band back together. To be doing, as Reverend Waters said, what will count the most, not just for those of us here today, not just those of us living beyond the borders of Dallas, but each and every generation that will follow ours, that will look back on the people of Texas in the year 2021 and 2022 and ask themselves, with so much on the line, with so much capacity within each and every single one of us to meet this moment, what did we do with our time on this planet? What did we do with our resources? What did we do with these knuckles on our hands? Did we knock on doors? Did we listen to the people in this state who need to know that there's a reason to vote in 2022? Did we seek out the millions who did not participate in last year's election to make sure they participate in this next one? Did we decide that we are not Democrats or Republicans or even independents, but that we are Texans first and foremost before anything else? I am here because you inspire me. When the power in this state failed in February, and those in power failed all of us, we got to work. We got after it. We put our differences behind us, and we started knocking on doors, reaching out to our neighbors, inviting them into our own homes so that they could get warm, have some water, a bite to eat, and then this, more importantly than anything else, so that they know that we care about them, that we love them, that they are our neighbors and they matter most to us. And we did this out of a sense of duty and responsibility to one another. Imagine if we had a governor in the state of Texas who felt that same way about the people that he serves. You inspire us to do that. Thanks to my friend Bobby Clavon, who is here, who's introduced me to so many in South Dallas County, in DeSoto. We went and visited with Mayor Proctor in that community and followed her as she went door to door, to check on her constituents, on the residents, asking not a single one of them, are you a Democrat? Did you vote for me? Who do you pray for? How do you love? How many generations can you count yourself a Texan? All that mattered to her, all that mattered to you, all that mattered to all of us is that you were here and you had a chance to help and someone needed that assistance and you were going to be there to deliver it. We are building trust among each other because we're listening to one another. We're treating each other as the human beings that we are, with the kindness and the respect and the dignity that we are owed. That's who we are in the state of Texas. This craziness that they are reporting to the rest of the world, that is not us. These extreme policies, this trying to decide which middle school girl can play which athletic sport, this cruelty of pitting each other against one another and further dividing this highly polarized state, that is not us. This small, mean, petty politics, that's not the big, bold, beautiful people of Texas. We are the big, bold, beautiful people of Texas who are coming to reclaim this state and to make sure that we listen to and trust one another, because when we do, there is absolutely no stopping us, no stopping any single one of us, and certainly not stopping us together. The problem, my friends, is that right now we have a governor who doesn't trust Texas. Even after this power grid failure and the devastation and the death that was borne by so many, even here in this community, our governor did not trust or listen to the people of this state when we told him we want you to weatherize the grid. Ask those gas company CEOs who made obscene profits on the misery of others to invest something in making sure that this does not happen again. He would not listen to us, but we, the people of Texas, we trust one another. And in so doing, we're going to make sure that in an O'Rourke administration, we weatherize the grid. We guarantee that hospitals and water systems and critical infrastructure identified by one of the world's greatest county judges, Clay Jenkins, are protected. We're going to create jobs by weatherizing our homes, our office buildings, and the infrastructure of this state to make sure we demand less energy so that it's there when we need it. And then this, to add insult to injury, each and every single one of us is going to pay at least 15% more on our utility bills going forward to clean up Greg Abbott's mess. It's the Abbott tax on Texas. When I am governor, I'm going to send resources back to you so that you don't bear the burden on this. No ratepayer should. Greg Abbott, he does not trust law enforcement, because when police chiefs and sheriffs said on behalf of their officers and deputies who have one of the most important, dangerous, essential jobs that we have in our communities, they said, Governor, if you sign this permitless carry bill into law that would allow any Texan without a background check or training or any vetting whatsoever to carry a loaded firearm in public, it's going to put our officers' lives in more danger. It's going to make it tougher for them to serve and protect those in the community that they were hired to look out for. But Greg Abbott turned his back on them, signed it into law anyhow, no matter that we have 4 of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history here in this state just in the last 5 years. When I am governor, we will listen to law enforcement. We will repeal permitless carry. We will protect our fellow Texans as we protect the Second Amendment. In this state, our governor does not trust the voters. And that's why, in the middle of this cycle, he changed the rules of the election, making it harder for people to register to vote and to cast a ballot in a state that already ranked the toughest, 50 out of 50, in which to participate in our politics and decide the outcome of our elections. 7 million of our fellow Texans last year did not cast a ballot, though they were eligible to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we trust our fellow Texans, and we say, no queremos, y no me importa si son republicanos o demócratas o independientes, van a tener la derecha a votar en cada elección en el futuro. Everybody is going to vote who is eligible to vote in this state. And this governor does not trust the women of Texas. In fact, he has put a price on the head of every woman who wants to make her own reproductive health care decisions, a $10,000 bounty that any vigilante can cash in on anywhere in America. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know this. I trust the women of Texas to make their own decisions about their own bodies each and every time. When we listen to each other and we trust one another and we are working for each other and not our campaign contributors, not looking at the next election, not following the whims of any given poll, but doing the right thing by and for our fellow Texans, we can do anything. And we can certainly get back to being big again in this state and focusing on the big things that most Texans want us to do, like this. Who can argue, Republican or Democrat, that we want the best jobs in America created right here in the state of Texas? No one working full-time in this state should make less than a living wage or be forced to work a second or a third job to make ends meet. You work one job, and that should be enough to pay the note on the mortgage, to put food on the table, to take care of your family, and have something left over to watch the Cowboys beat the Chiefs today and every given Sunday. Who can argue with this? We want the best public schools in America right here in Texas. Right now, in the average fourth grade classroom, 7 out of 10 kids cannot read at grade level. It's going to make it harder for them to graduate from high school, harder for them to get post-secondary education, harder for them to earn that living wage or to fully fulfill their potential in life. So I've got an idea for you. In a state that pays its teachers $10,000 less than the national average, what if we paid our teachers enough so they only worked one job, that job that teaches those kids and unlocks their lifelong love of learning? What if we gave them the power to teach to the child and not to some standardized test? And what if we did this on the common sense things that most of us can agree on? And I'll give you a couple where Republicans and Democrats alike have already found the common ground, and all that we lack is the political will to move forward. What if we did this? Reverend Waters mentioned the fact that this state has chosen not to. Let me rephrase this. It wasn't this state, because we are this state. Greg Abbott chose not to expand Medicaid, would not take yes for an answer from the federal government when they offered to pay 95 cents on the dollar for expanded health care in Texas. We are the least insured state in the country by a Texas mile. There are more who cannot see a doctor or fill a prescription or take their child to a therapist than in any other state in the union. In this community, we still see people dying of diabetes 100 years after insulin was developed, which costs pennies to distribute. Still, some people in Dallas cannot afford to buy it and are dying of it. The common flu, curable cancers, these things are taking our moms, our dads, our grandparents, our brothers and sisters from us. We have left, in the Abbott administration, $100 billion on the table that could have come to Texas, and not just for this community, but our rural communities where 24 rural hospitals have closed in the last 10 years, where some have to drive hundreds of miles just to see a doctor, and where they cannot get online to access telemedicine because we have not invested in the broadband internet in their communities. What if we did this? What if on the first day of that O'Rourke administration, we do take yes for an answer, accept Medicaid, make sure every single Texan can see a doctor and be well enough to live to their full potential, recruit and pay for those medical providers that we need everywhere to take care of everyone, and then this. I don't know the answer to this one, but I think I can guess. Does anyone here like the size of their property tax bill in Texas? If you brought $100 billion in federal money in to take care of those who are uninsured right now, you would no longer have people who are desperate, sometimes at the end of life because they could not get care, walking into a clinic or a hospital where they're not insured, where they're not covered, and where you foot the bill through your local property tax payment. What if we could bring down those property taxes at the same time? This one makes so much sense that it's hard to believe that we haven't done it yet. Almost as much sense as this next bit of common ground, legalizing marijuana in the state of Texas, so that we no longer lock up the people of this state for possessing a substance that is legal in almost every other state in the country. These are some of the big things that we can do together when we listen to one another, when we trust one another, when we bring everybody in, and that is this campaign. You are this campaign. It will not be the candidate. It will not be his political party. It will be each and every single one of us choosing to come together, bridging these divisions that we have in this state right now, and choosing to talk to, y más importante, listen to our neighbors, our classmates, our colleagues, and yes, our Republican mothers-in-law who need to be brought in to this next election. So this is what I'm asking. If you are willing to sign up, and you can go to betofortexas.com, enter your information, we will put you to work. Not in October of 2022, we will put you to work in November of 2021, because that's how we win. You can make a donation there to make sure that we have the resources to reach everyone in Texas, and thanks to your generosity and help so far, this campaign in the first 24 hours raised more money than any other gubernatorial campaign in U.S. history in 24 hours. You did this. You're going to make sure we can reach everyone. And if you're willing to do the work, and I will be honest with you, it's not going to be easy. You cannot do this from your couch or the kitchen counter. I love when you retweet what I put out there. I love the snappy posts on Facebook. All of that stuff is great. None of that stuff is going to win this election. I was just listening to one of my all-time heroes, Eddie Bernice Johnson. Maybe you heard of her. Who was giving us a little pep talk a second ago, our campaign team. And she said, folks, we are going to win this at the doors. And though she is retiring, and though she's at the end of her career of public service, she said, I will be out there with you as well. Come rain or come shine, come heat or come cold, Eddie Bernice Johnson and every single one of us, if you agree with me, is knocking on doors every single day going forward. You ready? So let me ask you this, the most important question. Are you ready to win? You ready to do what it takes? I am ready to do this with you, Dallas. Let's go out there and win this election. Gracias a todos. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Let's go do it.